Welcome to the Juniper Tree Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chris Young, and we also have our co-host here, Miss Miriam. Miss Miriam, share with them something that you want them to know.
Oh, yes. Hi. Hola, ¿qué tal? Hola, amigos en toda Latinoamérica, España y todo el mundo. Les saludamos el día de hoy. Pastor, your message today was wonderful. Oh, my God.
Praise God, praise God.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's
don't
it's about obedience. One thing
Oh, my God,
I
obedience.
noticed is that a lot of people don't want to obey
I have
nothing.
problems with obedience.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like to follow rules.
No. Wives have
And
a
it's
lot of
becoming
problems.
popular today. You know what I mean? I'm my own person. I don't follow no rules.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is that blessings come from being obedient.
Yeah.
And we saw today
You convinced me.
where Abraham was just obedient. And because of his obedience, God blessed him with so much. He says, as many as the stars, if you can count them, and that's how many descendants you would have, right? And he began to bless him just because of his obedience. So I truly believe that that's a message that we all can learn or take from.
Absolutely. It was
To
beautiful.
be obedient. A lot of people want to try to do X, Y, and Z and try to build this and do that when God is just saying be obedient.
Right.
And
And I
then-
will bless you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That opens the door and the windows of blessings, just being obedient.
Right.
It's almost like somebody telling you, you want to find the golden egg? It's over there in the corner. Go get it right there. And you still choose not to do it. You're
Right.
going to build your own golden egg. When you could just be obedient and just walk over there and get it. And so I think obedience is important.
Yes, it is. And today we have a person that is going to tell us a beautiful story of his life. And they're amazing. It's a couple. I am already in love with them. You know, their energy, their synergy, how they communicate, how they work together is amazing. So we're going to be hearing about Leonard and Felice and their Weaver. I mean, you know, they do have a program. It's a recovery program. And we would love to hear more about it because the need is out there. So we're excited to see them. We're excited that they accepted the invitation. They're amazing people. We're going to hopefully make more alliances with them. And they will bless us. So I'm excited to introduce them today. Yes.
Awesome, good stuff.
So,
Yeah.
on the theme of obedience, I'm thinking that probably he was disobedient once, and now he has turned it around into obedience. So
I
he's
think
going to tell us.
We all got that testimony. But yes, they are here. They got their Recovering Addict shirt, nonprofit,
Yes.
with the cross.
All right.
They represent, he has his own gym. I'm going to let him share these things with you. Share with us Leonard and Felice. Wow, what brings you here today?
Share the message, share strength, hope, what we've gone through, and in hopes that another married couple going through a similar situation will benefit, or somebody like me who's back in their 20s and got messed up into drugs and crime life sees that there is hope and a way out. And anytime I get the opportunity to meet new people with the same vision, same heart,
Yes.
I'm all about it. So
Good stuff.
that's
Yeah,
why
if
we're
we could
here.
help one person, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So tell us about your nonprofit.
So Recovering Addict started in 2020. You have to rewind way back into my life because of addiction a couple of times. I've hit rock bottom, early 20s meth, later in life after 35 years old, from 35 to 40, raging alcoholic. Always loved photography, videography. 2020 hit, and I got out of rehab and decided to start making YouTube videos. And I made about 10 YouTube videos just for fun, learning how to edit and all this stuff. And I had been messing with it, during my addiction and all that stuff and prior. And decided to, start editing, making videos about recovery. I'm going to niche down. Recovery is where I'm going to give it a shot.
Okay.
COVID hit, and I saw NA shut down, AA shut down, churches shut down. I saw everything shut down, so I was like, you know what, we're going live. She's like, what? I'm like, just come stand in front of the camera. Ready? Live.
Okay.
And tell your story, right? To the
Yeah.
whole world.
Helps
And
me.
we were,
Nothing so easy, right?
yeah, we were just like,
So simple. Tell the
if you
story.
guys need to talk, we're in our living room, and I've been there and done that. And all of a sudden, this just community grew across the world. We're in the UK, Australia, as far as our community goes, that are like a tight-knit. I have friends now in other countries. Like I could go
That's awesome.
and sleep on their couch, just from the connection we made.
That's good.
And so I started doing that, and I'm like, man, there's something here. And I've always had a mission type heart. And I'm like, God, if this is what you want me to do, just keep dragging me. And
So where was God before? You know, what happened that led you to that road?
Okay,
of
so I'm gonna
drug
rewind.
addiction,
Yeah,
alcoholism?
Tell us
Big
your
Want us to
story.
start at the
I
beginning?
want to hear this. How did you get there? Yeah,
So
well,
my
What
grandpa
happened? Okay.
Oh, we're going way back.
was a jerk.
Okay, we have some of those in
know.
the families, right?
Pre-baby boomer, you know, and the way that he raised his family and affected my dad. And my dad and him and their whole family was just this super dysfunctional, abusive, super abusive family, right? Rolled downhill to me. My dad always wanted to honor his dad and named me Leonard. My mom
Okay.
hated that name. She hated that name. And so she started calling me LT. So like my friends and
I
family,
see.
I'm LT. Been LT since my cousins found out my dad hated it and wrote it on my crib. And so I was born here in Utah in '79. Dysfunctional family. A dad who is a codependent, a child of alcoholism, who's an addict himself. And just that chaos of him and my mother fighting and divorced by the time I was 7. You know, nothing that's not common today. That's a normal story.
Yes, it is.
And so that happens.
Sadly.
And we live with my grandma. Me and my sister were living with my dad. We're living with my grandma. About the age 13, my dad meets this woman, gets married, moves us to Michigan. So we live in Michigan from age 13 to, me being age 13 to 18. And by the time I hit 15, I'm done. Like, my dad moved me out to Michigan, walked me up to my teacher, and my teacher said, "Hello, Ted." And I'm like, "Ted?" I look at my dad, and he's like, just like, go with it, you know. And so he moved me out to Michigan, holds me back a grade, changes my name to my middle name, Leonard Ted, because the LT's my initials. And I'm like, "Oh, you want to see Ted, huh?" And just something like right there went dark. And I just started just being dark. Metallica, blacked out bedroom. And by the time I was 15, I was gone. I left the house. I had my own car. I bought it from my science teacher, dropped out of high school, lying to get in apartments, working odd jobs as dishwasher and all that kind of stuff, and partying. Drugs, crank. There wasn't really meth back then. It was crank. And getting into a lot of trouble. And I ended up in jail a couple of times for just some petty theft out in Michigan. Turned 18. My brother, who lives here in Utah, calls me. He's like, "Get your butt back home right now." I said, "Okay." So I came back to Utah when I was 18, but nothing changed. You know, I was still trying to find the party, and that was it. I was just partying, going wild, and not really, I had no structure, no vision in life. I looked at my dad, I looked at his, and I'm like, that's what I'm going to grow up to be, you know? And I'm like, and 80 years is so far away? This sucks, you know? Now I realize how short life really is. But back then, it seemed like a long time to live
Yes.
like a loser, you know, which is what I envisioned myself. So I was just like, well, the only thing I'm good at is partying. Obviously, I ain't smart enough to stay in school. Like, I still can't spell. Ask her.
But that's not the true sign of intelligence.
Because spelling is dumb.
Someone else can edit.
You can spell in Spanish. It's okay.
Yeah, Spanish is easy to spell in.
Yes, it is. I agree.
And so nothing changes. I'm jumping from job to job. You name it, I've done it. I've painted houses. I've done steel work. I've done sheet metal. I've done sheet rock. I've sold Kirby's.
Many trades.
You name it, I've done it. And while I was selling Kirby's, by the way, I just get introduced to meth. And once meth kind of took over, about a month or two into it, I didn't care about drinking. I didn't care about smoking weed. It was meth. Me and a demon. I'm not joking. When I say I feel like I was holding hands with a demon, and whatever scheme and scam this demon was telling me to do, we were
That's what
doing
you
it.
were doing.
And it was criminal.
Wow.
And that was just to get more meth, to never fall asleep. And so about a year and a half,
Never fall asleep.
try not to.
That was
you
the
know.
point of
That
math.
was the whole point. Yeah, I would stay up for
So you can party.
party. Yeah. I don't
Okay.
even know if it's partying at that point. It's just delusional malnutrition, sleep deprivation, psychosis.
Okay.
Is really what
Right.
it is.
Okay.
But that's where I like to be. You know, 5 days of wake with just barely little cat naps, a couple weeks in, you know, and you're just in delusion. And all you're doing is trying to scheme and scam and steal. You know the difference between a tweaker and a thief, right?
No.
A thief will steal from you. Boom, he's gone. A tweaker, he's going to steal from you, and then he's going to help you look for it.
That takes skill.
That was me.
That goes beyond, right. So do you see the intelligence there? Yeah.
Smart guy.
He was just using it wrong.
Oh, man.
So that type of lifestyle led me to committing a second-degree felony, a burglary, which wasn't nothing, just trying to get whatever things of any type of value to get another sack to stay high. And that's
Right.
all it was. It was just a horrible, lost, godless game. And so I end up in jail after getting busted. I'm looking at a 1 to 15 in prison.
Wow.
I go to jail for about 4 months, and they let me out on probation. And I moved to Salt Lake with my aunt. That didn't work out. I moved back to Ogden. I immediately relapse, right back to the meth. I get drug tested by my probation officer, and I got caught by undercovers with meth in my pocket. So I violated,
Right.
and they sent me back to jail. And this time, I went to jail. I wasn't high, so I didn't sleep. The first time in jail, I got a tattoo right here that says "Sleepy," because I was so dope sick that I slept for what felt like a month. I'm sure it was probably 2 weeks, but it got to a point where like, "Hey, Sleepy, you need to go take a shower," you know. And so that was Sleepy. This time in jail, I was awake, and that's when the Lord crushed me. And I'm sitting in the 23-hour lockdown. You get out for an hour, and it's just like the weight
Yeah,
of the
that
world.
is horrible. That is just locked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where
No
I believe
social
the Holy
contact,
Spirit
right?
came in and got me.
And
I
your
wasn't married,
solitude.
didn't have kids, but my sister had kids, and I felt like the worst uncle ever. I'm like, I'm the worst uncle, and they have their other uncle who's a successful electrician, you know.
How did you hear the gospel there?
I was raised Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay, got it.
So we were in the Word a lot. My dad, credit to him, would play these tapes, and I'd always hear, "You will run, you know, and not grow weary. You will walk and not faint." And those kind of words always stuck. And Isaiah 41:13 was like the
scriptures.
first verse I ever memorized.
Awesome.
For I am the Lord thy God, who will hold up his right hand, saying unto thee, "Fear not, I will help thee." So those were always planted deep, you know.
Do you see the preacher there, Pastor?
That's all right.
And so that was planted deep. And I got to jail
Okay.
the second time, and I just opened the Word. I got put into population, and it was serious this time. I'm looking at a 1 to 15. I violated probation.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble. I am in big
And
trouble.
you're only one away from the third, too.
Yeah,
Ouch.
yeah. And so I'm scared. I'm terrified. I open my Bible. I start reading from Matthew to Jude, because I wasn't going to get into Revelation. I'm like, not yet.
You were not ready?
Not ready. And so I read Matthew to Jude every night for 30 days in a row.
Oh, wow.
And somewhere in there, and I was praying this prayer that I got out of the Bible, like a free on the inside Bible that are in there. Save me from this deep water. I mean, I'm praying this every night, and I'm reading the Bible. I'm writing people letters, and I don't know, somewhere in there, all of a sudden, I'm like, Jesus is God? I'm like, what? And so I just, God, save me, you know? And
Okay.
I came out of my jail cell the next morning, something different. It was like, literally, like I could see.
Wow.
And it's not like I'm trying to be metaphorical. This was true. And I'm looking around the jail cell, and it was a little brighter. Things felt a little better. And I've seen this guy with long hair. He's sitting there getting food out of the trays because he didn't have any money. And I had money on my books because I had a job.
Okay.
And so I'm like, hey, come here. And I gave him food, and me and him started reading the Bible together. And we're still friends to this day. And this is almost 18 years ago.
Wow.
You know? So that's where I got saved. That's how,
In jail. Sometimes the bottom,
yeah.
the bottom at the bottom, you only have one way to look up, right?
Correct. So I get a second chance. I go to the halfway house, which is a, work release program.
Right.
Successfully complete that, no write-ups, and I start climbing the ladder of success. I'm scared straight. I don't realize I'm an addict yet, right? I know I'm saved, and I know I want to read the Bible. I want to teach and preach, and you know, I'm excited. I'm on fire for the Lord. And I end up with my first marriage. That whole thing just goes away, like, real quick, right? There's this little tiny spark, but a child's produced out of it. And so now I'm a single dad at 26, 27, and that's where I meet Felice. And so me and her met then. I'm doing stucco. She's working at a daycare. We're both just working hard in life, raising young kids. We end up getting married. We've got 2 kids now. And these kids are older. My youngest is 10 now.
Okay.
And so we're going to church. She gets saved. You want to talk about that?
Keep going. I'll talk about it later.
So we're reading the
You're on a
Bible,
roll.
going to churches and studying. And, and I'm studying Spurgeon and all, Matthew Henry and all this good stuff.
Wow. You're getting prepared.
Oh, I'm earning my salvation. Right?
We know how that goes. Wrong, right?
Right? God's gonna be in love with the future me.
Right.
So many people think that they have to do something in order for God to love them, in order for God to save them.
Yep.
And that's not the point. The point is He did it all at the cross.
Amen.
And I share this with you. Having kids kind of show me God, right? And the truth is, I was telling my daughter just last week, we made a Build-A-Bear before she was born that says, hey, Zaria, this is Mommy, I love you. Yes, this is Daddy, I love you, right? And I was playing it for her, right? And I pushed the button, it's sitting on a window ledge. And she's 3 now. And in that moment, God began to share with me, there go a TikTok moment right here.
Yay, our first
In that moment, God began to share with me His love. That before we did anything,
Yeah.
before we messed up, before we did the right thing, before we accepted Him, before we
Yes.
did all that, before we even came out the womb, the twinkle of the eye in Granddad's face, you know what I mean, when he met her, you know what I mean, God loved us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amen.
We didn't do anything
No, we
for
didn't
that
deserve
love
it. Uh-uh.
outside the fact that we're His children. And once we are conditioned, you do something, the song, what have you done for me lately? Right? And so we're conditioned that you do something,
In order to get acceptance
right,
and
and
love.
to get love. But we have to change the way how that works, because
paradigm.
agape love doesn't
No.
matter about
Right.
none of that. You can't
No.
work it, you can't turn it around, you can't
You
fix
can't-
it in your own way. It's already
You cannot
there.
earn it.
It's,
right.
you already, the fact that He's still waking you up shows.
Yes.
Get up, my
You have a
child.
purpose.
You got another day, a chance to make it right. Go ahead. He constantly keeps showing us love, and we just need to recognize the love that God has for us.
For each of us.
And
Each
it's
of
hard
us.
trying to work for something that you can't attain.
You can't.
Yeah, you can't pay it. You know, how could you
That's frustrating.
pay
Yeah.
for salvation?
It just
Can't
brings
earn it.
destruction, really.
Right. So in humbleness, we say, thank you, Lord, that you had mercy upon us, that you saw us, that you have a purpose for our lives. So, wow,
stuff. And-
that's great.
Back to you. So you got Jesus now.
Yep.
Yes.
You're in the jail cell. You're starting to see things better. You are blessing people already. You're reading the Bible with this
With
young man.
others, yeah.
Tell us more.
Okay, I get out. I'm on probation. I don't realize I'm an addict. Her and I meet right here shortly at this time frame. I'm 26, 27. The day I get off probation, I start smoking weed again.
A relapse.
Yeah, and I smoked weed
Really?
for, how long did I
That's a
smoke
long
weed? About
time.
6 years or something. But I'm smoking weed daily, and we're going to church, we're reading the Bible, and
Okay.
nothing's changed about me.
Did the
but
pastor tell you anything?
I didn't tell them. I'm trying to earn my salvation.
Did you tell your pastor? You confess your
Trying to get
sins.
in. I'm trying to get into heaven. I'm not going to tell him.
Exactly. And so what the point, though, of that is that I didn't realize what addiction was and the type of personality traits, whatever you want to call it, biological
Right.
breakdown, the disease within, whatever you want to call it. It's the sinful heart, right? And I'm smoking weed, and I'm still remembering, I still have this stigma in my mind that I'm a piece of crap. I'm going to be like my dad the rest of my life. I am not going to be worthy of a job more than doing stucco, because I did stucco for a long time, me and my buddy. And that's about all I'm going to attain to. I'm almost 30 at this point in my story, and I don't have a GED. I don't have no education. This is where I picture my life the rest of my life, And her mom calls me and says, go get your GED, fill out an application, and apply for this job. I'm like, okay, yes, ma'am. And so I do it, get my GED real quick, and I think they gave me the dumb test because I took 2 tries to pass. eventually passed.
And he was obedient, though, to do the test.
And so I quit smoking weed because I had a job that required drug testing. Right? So
okay.
now I'm back to, actually we were getting into fitness because we had a couple kids. We both got that, contentment weight going on. And so we started doing P90X back in 2008, 2009. So this is 2010. I apply for this job, I get it. I'm a felon, meth addict, thief, and I get a job at the United States Air Force working on F-22s with a secret clearance, right?
What?
Yeah, and so God's still showing me, like, I'm going to do for you what you
Mercy.
can't do. Yeah. And so now I'm like, whoa, I got a job. I'm working on the baddest weapon system on the planet here at Hill Air Force Base, and I am imposter.
How did that happen? You wonder, right?
Yeah, this imposter syndrome that we've been talking about in our group lately. Like, wait till these guys find out who I really am, And that's still a thing too. But
I can understand that. Now, you were working at the daycare the whole time during this time?
Well, I worked at the daycare for a while, and then my mom told me to do the same job. She's like, "You're done working there. You're going to work for the government and make money." I said, "Okay."
So
Okay.
both of you went to work for the government?
And we had the same job,
You did the F-22
same
as
place.
well?
Yeah.
Working on,
we work together.
We worked together.
Yeah.
We'd switch. He'd go swings. I'd go days.
y'all were
Sometimes.
crew chiefs?
We ended up, well, kind of like crew chiefs.
Yeah.
We were wage leaders, and then we climbed a little further too. That's further in the
That's
story.
awesome.
That is, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you were able to stand each other after all this time?
Yeah.
We enjoyed working
Obviously,
together.
it was
Everybody's always like, "How you work together?" I'm like, "It's fun."
Funny story, real quick sidebar. Working on the F-22, she's up on the wing doing this, like, this one we were mechanics, right? And she's wrenching on this spot, and I come over to her, and I'm like, "Why are you doing that the hard way?" She's like, "Well, what's the easy way?" I'm like, "Watch." Went over to my buddy, I'm like, "Dude, how do you do this?" And he comes over, and he starts doing it, and I pull her back. There's the easy way.
Some schemer there.
Still scheming.
Didn't leave that behind.
That's good, that's good. Well, what, you just smiling?
I was like,
That's funny. Humor is always healthy, to have in a marriage.
And so, I'm not doing drugs. We get paid to work out on base at this point in time. We get 3 hours a week. So we're really getting into fitness. I'm getting fit again. I'm running a mile in like 6 minutes, 20 seconds when my knees were still good back then. And about age 34 is for some reason the click. I know I was drinking a little bit of beer before that, but 34, we had this party at her dad's house for my birthday, and we tied it on. I was drinking tequila. We were taking shots, and and now I'm successful. I'm all of a sudden I'm making good money. We're making $60,000, $70,000 each a year, and now, oh yeah, I don't need to depend on God no more. I got this.
That's
I
where,
got this.
That's where God
I
walked
work on
out.
it. I got a secret
got it.
clearance.
Right.
And I'm just
That's where
proud.
you left God behind.
Yeah.
You didn't need him anymore. Before you were trusting him. trusting
Exactly.
You
I'm a
because he
stucco
was-
guy. I'm lonely.
Right, and now you don't need
Stucco,
him
I
anymore.
need Jesus with stucco. F-22, I got this. Thanks, God, I got it. Appreciate you. Yeah, I feel you.
100%. So 34 years old, I start drinking. It wasn't about a year later. I'm drinking about a pint a night, pint of whiskey. We're on our second house. We've built our credit. We've got the car payments, which is the American dream. We're in our second house. We got 4 kids. We're doing good, and I'm drinking a pint a night because that's what they do. We go to work during the week. We come home and we drink and relieve our stress. And it's starting to become a problem,
Military way.
That's the excuse.
That
Really
is the military way.
Yeah. Sometimes.
So being honest, 20 years retired, that's why.
You know what's up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got
He
that
has
for
seen
sure.
it all.
I do, I really do.
That's awesome. And so, 35, 36, I'm drinking a pint a night. And we're doing the weekend stuff, the camp and the fifth wheels and the razors. And I'm starting to get a little more wild again in my partying. Like drinking way too much, doing stupid, standing on top of the car and we're driving down the road, You get like 18-year-old wild stuff
Yeah,
again.
you crunk.
Yeah.
I was Felice on during this time.
I'm saying, get off the truck. I'm not moving.
At this point, it's not so bad between us. She's like, okay, he's tying one on. And then it's like she's tying one on again and again and again. And so it's starting to become a problem. I'm an alcoholic, right? I'm drinking a pint of whiskey every single night during the week. just to maintain. That's how I maintain. And on the weekends, I'm drinking as much as I can, blackout
Right.
drunk. And then in 2017, this is gonna be the hard part of the story. We start choking up a little bit. My son's in an accident, right? I get off work early. My computer system ain't working. We've climbed the base. We're both GS11s. I'm a production controller. We're
both
scheduled
are,
too,
yeah.
yeah. She's in flight test.
Still on the same job. We just followed
We
each other.
switched over to the F-35s though. And so we're both GS, we're making even better money now and blah, blah, blah. Computers ain't working. I come home, I'm home early, thank God. For some reason, I didn't pick up my daughter from the daycare. Not really a daycare. It's, how old is
Misha.
Melanie?
She's at
6?
Misha's house.
She's like 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And I just go home, get to my computer, crack my shot, take a shot of my pint, and I'm playing on it. It's noon. I left work early. And my oldest boy, Amos, comes running. Dad, Dad, Dad. So I go running out there, and the kids had taken this little dump bed UTV. The thing did like 8 miles an hour, a little farm truck, up the street, and decided to put it in neutral and come flying down the hill and got to about 45 miles an hour. It flips, and there's 7 kids in it. All 3 of my boys are in there, right? It flips, so my 2 boys go flying out. Amos, he's fine. He tucks and rolls like always. Xylan, he does like a...
Always. I want to meet him now because this seems like a very resilient kid.
This kid, man. He's athletic.
He's my athlete, man.
Always.
Yeah, he got rubber
baseball.
bones.
Hold on.
I've seen it. I've seen
Let
his
me
leg
just
bend.
picture. Let me
It didn't
just tell
break.
you this in my mind. This car, the ATV
Flipping,
thing is
yeah,
flipping
right,
over.
huh?
The kid like falls up, rolls over, and stands up like.
We're pretty sure that's what happened. That's what happened.
Because we cannot claim that he was drunk, you know.
I'm good. You know what I mean?
My other son, Scorpions, cracks his T vertebrae, one of those.
7 or something. He's
Then
over
my
in the
youngest
middle.
boy, Link, I'm sure you'll meet one day, he ends up underneath it and it crushes his head. And Link's the opposite of Amos. He's been getting a broken bone every year since he was like 2. Accident-prone kid.
That's how my son's age. I'm afraid he might be hit his head every day.
Bubble wrap.
Pray. Let's pray.
Yeah.
Right. Bubble wrap.
But he cracks his head from ear to ear, like pops his head. I run over to the machine. The machine's tipped over, and he's laying there choking on his blood.
Oh my
And my
goodness.
sister happens to
That's
see
scary.
this, and she just had finished CPR on him, and I just pick him up and I roll him over because he's got
Choking.
blood coming from everywhere, and I don't know what to do, so I just kind of like what they do with movies, I'm like, stay with me, Link, come on, squeeze my finger, and he squeezed my finger 3 times, his eyes like almost popping out of his head and stuff, and so right there was this. Everybody has a line in their life, before this and then after this. And that's kind of a
That
line that
is,
we have in our life when we start talking, before the accident, after the accident. This is that line that was drawn very hard in our life. Cops, paramedics, life flight. We end up in
Primary.
primary children hospital. And the doctors come in, like, if he makes it tonight, type stuff.
That's
We ended up calling
How
this
old
guy.
is he now?
He was 9.
9 years.
He's 14 now. Thank God.
5 years ago.
So he's 9. Doctors are telling us if he makes it tonight. We call this doctor. We ended up calling him Dr. Doom because he was the bedside manner doctor that delivered the hard news. And I could never break through. I couldn't get to him, And I'm like, we call you Dr. Doom, don't you? He's all,
Yeah, probably he was very realistic at that point.
Yeah, he was.
He was
Yeah.
not.
Probably hard for him
Yeah.
too.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
probably.
But he broke, and we got to become friends there for a few days.
Okay.
So he's in the hospital for about 2 months. They ended up having to take his skull out, letting his brain swell. He was in a coma. The hardest weekend was the weekend they come in and said, all right, look, we got to fix his face. His
It was about
cheeks,
3 weeks in.
Yeah, about 3 weeks in. His jaw's broken. His arms, like everything's broke. And they're like, we got to fix his face. In order to fix his face, we have to wire his mouth shut. We got to do all this reconstructive surgery, and we have to put a trach and a feeding tube to do that. But if we put a trach and a feeding tube in him, you're taking this home, this vegetable, right? So this weekend, I want you guys to really just contemplate pulling the plug. And that's the day that me and Felice, we just fell out. Heaviest weight of my life. Jail, facing a judge for
That was,
15-year prison sentence.
Nothing,
Nothing.
Right.
And so during this whole
Family
time,
trauma.
shout out to Ronald McDonald House. They put us up at the Ronald McDonald House,
That
which
place
is
is
an
cool.
amazing, amazing charity.
It
And the
is.
whole time I'm drinking every night. My son's in the hospital. I'm sneaking in booze to the Ronald McDonald House. I'm snot crying, drinking, belligerent drunk,
Why?
flipping God off. Why?
Oh,
You know?
What about
anger.
the second son that had the broken vertebra?
He's doing
He's
okay.
Was he in the hospital at this time too as well, or what?
He spent about 2-3 days in the hospital
Okay.
just with
You
us.
going back and forth between
So, my primaries was really cool. We were at McCady, and from there, they actually drove Zion is his name in an ambulance and let him stay in the emergency room over at primaries. So we were
Okay,
going
so we're
up
together.
and down. We'd
Okay.
kind of switch.
Yeah.
I'd go up, he'd go down. I'd go up, he'd go down.
Okay.
For
And
the
then
first
they
couple.
Alternating.
then they ended up releasing him. He's okay.
Yeah, and then the kids that were okay in the accident were staying with family, while we stayed at the
Right.
Ramagon house.
Right.
And I'm belligerently drinking there, right? This gave me the justification I needed to drink more.
Okay. And to be angry at God.
And be angry
It's just
and
like
be-
God caused it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He
I
allowed
kind
it.
of felt like he was punishing me. That was my first. I had a couple pastors show up and pray with us and talk, and I'm like, "This is my fault, Pastor. Like, he's punishing me because of the drinking, the
Right.
partying, the lack, everything. I left the church. I stopped reading the Bible. You know, all that. I'm like, I know this is a punishment. You know, and I worked way through that. She stayed there at the hospital longer than I did because I had to go back to work. And so I'm at home and I'm drinking about a fifth a night, maybe a little more. During the week now, I kind of just gave up. I just drank. And I'm drinking. I'd go buy a couple half gallons. I'd come home, drink, pass out. I was making it to work Tuesday through Thursday. Luckily, I'm working for the government, so they're really lenient.
I got you know, got that
I'm
t-shirt.
I'm going to stay very quiet right now.
You're not by yourself in there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
And so that goes on for a while. He gets out of the hospital, praise God. All of a sudden, pull the plug weekend, right? So we get back that Monday, and the doctors come in, and they were able to lay him down long enough to get him an MRI and see that, because when the brain hit, it like shears. You got two lobes, you know, it's sheared, and all the stuff in the middle kind of gets destroyed.
Right.
His whole frontal,
Yeah, he got
right
his
frontal
whole
lobe's dead.
He's dead.
The thinking part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his
The
personality.
reasoning.
He has personality. He has a
Right.
different personality now.
Yeah. And so we get there Monday, and he's like, we looked at it, and the shearing's not quite as bad as we thought. And then he went and pinched him on his neck, and he was like, he twitched a
That's
little.
a good sign.
That's a good sign. Let's give this boy a chance. And, the weight's off us.
Right, right.
Duh.
Now you stop drinking right there and then, right?
Right.
No.
It is not that easy, Pastor. I tell you, that demon of alcoholism and drug addiction is it doesn't want to leave.
It got a grip.